Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Victor. I'm a senior solutions engineer here at Okta. Thanks, Federo and I Am Tech Day for having me here today to talk about the journey to loginless and first step being passwordless. We're going to be talking about some common misconceptions about the loginless journey. All right, so let's get started. Just to give you a brief introduction of myself. Again, my name is Victor Fuenmayor. I am a senior solutions engineer at Okta for Latin America and in the Caribbean. Fun fact about myself: I actually have 6 cats. As you can tell, I like cats, and I help my community fighting overpopulation by doing TNR. If you're asking yourself what TNR is, it's not a common term. I have it here. It's trap, neuter, and return, where I trap the cats, especially the stray cats, taken to be neutered so they don't reproduce, and then I go ahead and pick them up and put them back in where they belong, right? You learned something. Maybe you learned something new today. All right, now enough on the non-technical stuff. Let's go. Let's talk about business here. So this is the agenda. Today we're going to talk about the passwords. Some misconceptions here, right? So passwords are secure, or other authentication methods or challenges are not. Friction is a technical issue, not a business imperative. It's impossible to simultaneously satisfy convenience, security, and privacy. So these are the misconceptions, right, that we're going to be talking about. And then lastly, we can make meaningful progress today. So we'll wait for the perfect solution. We'll talk about it. And then it's too hard to go passwordless, right? So we'll check it out. All right. So let's get started here. Let's imagine for a second, the future. This one, this lady here actually is called Alexis, right? Alexis, she is, let's say she goes one day, she wakes up on a regular day. She takes her phone once she wakes up, and then she automatically checks, like, let's say, the stock market, emails, some social media, right, and stuff like that. So the phone automatically knows that it's her. Maybe she uses device biometrics, right, and things like that. So she doesn't have to even use a pin anymore. Then she goes to do some cardio, right? She goes to the treadmill. The treadmill automatically detects it's her based on her body composition, reading the, cardiac, let's say, rhythm, right? All of it. So, automatically detects it's her and then keeps track of, what the goal is for her and applies the results, right, that she needs. Um, Next, then she goes to, let's say, take a shower. The shower has, let's say, an identity and intelligence solution that automatically detects it's her and applies the water warm level, right, the personalized experience that she usually wants, right, as opposed to any other person. um, then she goes to work. Basically, she goes in up in the laptop. In a laptop, it does fingerprint reader, where, yeah, it reads the biometric from her. And then, simultaneously or seamlessly, she starts working and doing some personal tasks within the same computer, right? And basically, she only, uh, you know, let's say, validated herself once, with her own biometrics. And then lastly, she has a virtual appointment, with a doctor at the middle of the day, and she only goes through a quick, let's say, voice recognition system. Then the doctor's system validates her, and then she has the appointment with the doctor. Now, let's say this is perfect. So far everything is beautiful in the future for her. Now, at the middle of the day, an attacker, tries to authenticate to, let's say, a portal, right? That let's say it's the I don't know, any of the portals that she may use, right? Maybe it's the stock market, right, solution or application she has. Well. what happens now is the stock market solution that she has actually identified that it's not her, based on the location of that user, trying to authenticate, and automatically block that behavior using impossible travel, right? Something that we all know today, automatically detects the location. It's impossible that she's logging in from two locations that far at the same time. So now stepping back a little bit, right? That's a feature. We see how, that can be a little unrealistic, right? Let's say, very far from today. And yeah, so what is the, let's say, the journey, right, that we need to get to loginless, right, which is pretty much maybe in 5 years, right? Well, we need to think about a couple of things here. Um, One here today is we're always password centric, right? We think that password is the most secure way. Um, we need to start thinking about passwordless being the next step, right? How's that, right? So passwordless means really, let's say biometric, replacing that with any other factor, something that you are, which is the biometric, or something that you possess, right? Which is text message or something like that. We'll talk about it. So let's see, what is passwordless? Passwordless is an authentication method that verifies a user without requiring them to enter a password, also known as knowledge-based secret, right? Knowledge-based secret may be a passcode, a password, or a security question. Okay, now these can be replaced with things like possession factors, which again can be text messages, one-time password, let's say push notifications, right? There are a few methods, even security keys, right, and things of that nature. Or biometrics, which can be device biometrics, it can be WebAuthn, right? It can be, Face ID, let's say fingerprint reader, right, and things like that. So that is really passwordless. I really wanted to touch on that really quick. Okay, so let's look at the misconceptions that we're gonna talk about today, right? The first one, and this is my favorite, is passwords are secure. Other authentication challenges are not, right? So is this? I mean, I don't agree with this, right? And let's look at this example. So if any of you is familiar with these sites, this is actually an old portal. It's a game, an online game called Neopets. If you're curious, you can go to YouTube and see kind of the history of it. Looks like it's now available today again, but really, if you see here something that I am familiar with, and by the way, I didn't play this game, but I actually am familiar with the login form that we see right here, where we see username and password. The reason I'm familiar with this is because I see these every time today, right? In every portal, I see username, password everywhere. Even to go to like the bank accounts online, right? You see username and passwords. What's even worse is that if you notice right here, it says forgotten password. Enter your username in the box below, and then we'll email you your password to you. So back in the day, they even didn't hash the passwords, right? So they kept the passwords in clear text. So that means if someone had access to that database, they can totally see the passwords, right? So that's a challenge, right? That today we see a lot of that, especially on the login form, right? Username and password. Now, this has caused the popular thought and the false sense that security is based on the promise that passwords are secure, right? Um, so that's one thing, and then also the perception that anything that doesn't have a password, it's insecure, right? So think about it. Maybe okay, I don't use a password. That's kind of weird. I only use a username and then something else. I don't know what that is, right? And you may think, well, that's really is that really secure? Well, let's see. Um, these causes. these challenges here, right? So first off, um, the average number of passwords person is 100 passwords, right? If you go to, let's say banks, insurance, that can be health insurance, car insurance, bank accounts, you name it, right? Anything, everything has a password. Has a password. Um, Based on this Verizon investigation report, 89% of breaches are caused by passwords. Okay, and then lastly, it costs $6 million a year. This is an average cost of credential, or businesses impact, or what it costs to businesses to have credential stuffing attacks. Okay, very important. Now, the next one here, besides the passwords, around being secure or not, right? The next um, misconception is friction is a technical issue, not a business imperative, right? Is it really? I don't agree with this, and these are the reasons. So let's look at some numbers. 92% of users will abandon a site due to poor login experience, right? So if the people, has issues to register, or need to fill out a huge form, or it's so poor, 92%, and this is a big number, will go to another site, or try to do things in a different place, and really, yeah, it's common, right? Um, Now, 88% of people will say, or consumers, um, I they say I will basically add incomplete information, or not add enough information, or I will add incorrect information, right? So this is bad for marketing, this is bad for reports internally, right? Things like that. And then 4.42% has been dropped in conversion rates, right, for sales, right? So based on each second of loading that website. Okay, so these are important numbers to keep in mind. Now, um, identity really has taken in, or has a take actually in every department. So what does this mean? So traditionally we've seen CISOs, right, and CIOs involved, in identity decisions. They wanted to apply risk, let's say risk engines, and protection. They wanted to, CIO wanted to future proof, and make sure they had all the systems up to date, right? Now, this expands now to the sites right here, which is the CMO, right, the Chief Marketing Officer, which wants to improve the conversions, and they want to apply a positive customer, or consumer experience, right? And then the Chief Product Officer, they want a better time to value, right, for their products. And of course, they also want to work on the customer experience, right? So quick, idea here. Um, that takes us to the next misconception, right? Which is it's impossible to simultaneously satisfy convenience, security, and privacy. Well, let's look into this. 77% of businesses, with online presence, they want to prioritize a frictionless user experience, right? But they also say that 58%, prevents that goal, right? That goal. So it's contradicting, right? So people wants to improve the user experience, but then at the same time, it's hard because it's you know basically they want to apply fraud prevention policies. Okay, so let's continue here. This is a perfect example, right? And I'm sure a lot of you have seen this page right here. If you go to like Amazon, and you see this buy now with one click, you can literally go ahead and sign up, and buy anything, for hundreds, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and really buy anything that you want, right, with that click. It's important to know here that it's improving the user experience. You don't need to go through the card and give it a credit card again, or something like that. It has all your information, and really with that click you get everything to your house, right, automatically and quickly. um, Now, what we don't know, and something that happened to me, is that even when I travel, like Apple devices, whenever you're trying to download or pay for an application, you may even have the credit card information saved, right, to the Apple Pay, but it'll still ask you for your biometrics, for instance, right? And maybe if you're at home or you're in the same location, it's good. It's good to go. You don't have to go through multiple clicks to add a new application, or do anything new to your phone, or add, yeah, like buy or something, buy an application or something. So this is what the goal is. So we're balancing friction and security, and of course, we end up with delightful outcomes. Now, companies have been forced to prioritize and compromise, right? So this is not really the best choice. So let's see what this looks like. Um, we need to look at systems and solutions that are secure, that that also can be convenience, and it protects the privacy, right, of that identity of the user. Okay. So, and then lastly, we can make meaningful progress today, right? We'll wait. Let's see. So today, as we saw in that first option, or that first portal that I showed below, the online game, um, really we're not, we're still not seeing a lot of, let's say, only give me the username. We see username and password, right? We see that a lot. um, we need to go from that to actually something like this, right? So welcome back. If you go to like Google, you see, they usually only ask for the username, and then based on that username, we start asking for the next context, right? It can be, even the password, but then we accompany that with something else, right? Like the fingerprint, the email, text message, things like that. So we want to, bring and make sure the user starts seeing multiple options, so that they better choose, the what they prefer. Okay. Um, Now, the journey to passwordless starts with more secure digital experience, right? So there is something called progressive profiling, right, which is pretty much collecting data from the user, um, in multiple sections, right? For instance, they log in once, we only ask them for, at the registration, we only ask them for email, name, last name, right? Basic information. Then the next time, we can ask him for, something more like telephone number, right? And then the next time, we ask him for birthday, some preferences, right, and things like that, right? So that is what progressive profiling is, right? And how we can help building some more context based on the user inputs, and of course, not impacting the user registration. Okay. Now, um, lastly, and really this is the last misconception I wanted to talk about today. It's too hard to go passwordless, right? Is it? You know, let's see. So right now, you can and should actually start your passwordless journey right today. There are multiple options, right? So we have device biometrics, which is essentially, we trust on the device biometrics that's registered. It can be, Face ID, it can be fingerprints, right? So that's one of them. Then the intelligent login, meaning we apply context, right? We apply behavior context to the login. We have risk scores as well, right? We evaluate where that user is connecting from, what device they're using. Let's say, for instance, the location of that user. If we want to see like specific, um, let's say, country, city, state, right? We can see all of that, and of course the behavior, the historical behavior of that user, right? And then lastly, which is the most secure, is security keys, right? So think about security keys, and I actually have one here. This one right here. This one also has biometrics, but it's not just security keys like these ones, because these ones can be lost. It can be placed anywhere. It can be a pain. Also, now the computers have their own security keys, right? And such as like phones, mobile devices, they have their own security keys, which now we can start trusting to, authenticate the user. Okay, so think about that. Let's see. So moving on here, user expects frictionless experiences. Entry barriers will result in abandonment. This is something that I mentioned a little while ago. Where the users will, pretty much abandon the website if they have a poor experience. And really, we need to start thinking about starting, the foundation, or laying the foundation for the loginless journey. This can be with Okta and Auth0, of course. We have solutions like progressive profiling, adaptive MFA, let's say device assurance, right? Mobile device integrations, right? So we have a identity-centric zero trust approach, right? And everything meets in the identity side of things. And of course, this applies to the workforce side of things as well as the consumer side of things. Okay. Um, don't take, my word for it. Our customers, these are some numbers. Arduino, this is a portal that actually increased the conversion rate by 3 times by simplifying the logins, right? So, you could see whenever you go and check out for products, you could do check out as a guest, right? But then, you know, check out as a guest, yeah, that builds the trust for the user because they don't have to go through like giving up more information about them. But then at the same time, you also have the option to register and buy as a registered user, right? So but you don't want that process to be painful, right? So you want to make sure the registration process, the login process, the forget password process, right? All of that is, and then even the checkout process, right? To whenever you execute the purchase, it's giving a delightful experience, right? Um, so that's his company, Arduino. Create and Borrow. They saw a 16% increase in customers signing in versus checking out as a guest, right? So again, what I was talking about. And Flow is a woman's health application that they improved the signups. They increased the signups by 12.5 times, right? With let's say applying our Okta platforms. Okay. So some key takeaways here, challenge the status quo, right? Traditional methods where you see username and passwords, they're not secure, right? As we can see, passwords can be stolen. Passwords are reused per user, right? And ultimately, we want to stay away from keep using passwords. So keep, challenge the status quo. Embrace passwordless today, right? So, give the users options like biometrics, like security keys, collect more data from the user, the context, right, and things like that, and do it without, giving a lot of friction to the user, right? Because again, it'll create abandonment. Um, and of course, Okta and the other platform can help, right? So we're experts in this segment. We are about 5,000 people dedicated to logging or to identity, to multi-factor authentication, to lifecycle management. So everything that goes around, governance, access management, all of that, we'll be happy to help. Okay. So these are some of our customers, some of our logos in LATAM. Actually, you may see some in Brazil, some in Argentina, some in Mexico, right? We really cover, the entire, let's say LATAM, right? Latin America. With that, thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next. Bye.